Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 20th episode of PAOK Talk. I didn't think we'd get to 20 episodes, Jono, but here we are. We are your hosts, Angelo and Jono. Jono, how are you tonight?
Hey Angela, I'm doing well. Yeah, 20 episodes. I guess it's a nice little accomplishment for us. And yeah, here we are. So post Derby and a bit of transfer news too coming through overnight.
Right.
So plenty to talk about, even though we only spoke a couple of days ago.
Mm-hmm. So let's just touch on the Olympiacos game. Real quick. I guess we're gonna go over that first. Obviously, it's probably what's on everyone's mind right now. I thought that we played well. I thought that we were the better team on that day. Um, and I'm sure we're gonna get more in depth. But what did you think about the performance? And did you think that we should have gotten a win? Do you think a draw was a fair result? What say you?
Yeah, so I agree with you that we were the better team. I think particularly the second half was quite dominant and the best we've looked for a while. So really good second half. First half was a balanced game. Even then, we had a couple of chances. Olympiacos had a chance or two as well in the first half. Yeah, I agree with you. We definitely deserved the win, but whether it was poor finishing or whatever. But no, in terms of the performance, it definitely left me satisfied. We didn't roll over. We played well. Didn't get dominated. Yeah, it was a good performance. The result obviously disappointing. We spoke about how to keep our faint chances alive of competing for the title, we needed to win. Obviously, the draw leaves us still 10 points behind Olympiacos, and with results overnight, we've actually slipped to fourth. And fourth doesn't guarantee you Europe. It's obviously very close. We're only 1 point behind AEK in second,
Mm-hmm.
but fourth doesn't guarantee you Europe, depending on what happens with the cup. So top three is guaranteed European football. So now we have a case on our hands where we're fighting for European qualification.
Right.
So it's going to be a tough. It's going to be a tough end to the season, and the playoffs are going to be hugely crucial. I mean, so do you think that the result absolutely slams the door shut on whatever flicker we had on the title, and where do you see our European qualification hopes at?
So I would say that I think we're done from first place. I think if we won that game, it still held out hope for first place. I don't think that it would have been guarantee obviously that we'd be in the race, but I think we needed to win that. But I think this does more for our morale and for our fans and for Garcia as the coach. Um, I think this is going to kind of be a good little pedestal to step on and to move forward. Um, in regards to our European campaign, I think this was a good step in the right direction. I think that and I've been critical about our team. I've been critical about the way we've played to the point where I even questioned last week if we would be even in the European spots right at the end of the season. But I was impressed by the way we played. I just want to see this consistently. If, and that's a big if we could play this way consistently, we'll get second place. I don't think there's any doubt about that. If we have games where we don't show this and we lose points against teams that we shouldn't lose points against, because I think Ike is doing really well with their new coach, and he is.
With the
I think
with a new old
the
coach, you
new
mean?
old coach, yeah, Jimenez. I think you mentioned it. I don't know. I think you mentioned it last episode where he's a good defensive coach. I don't know if that was on air or off air, but it looks they're getting results. Right, they're getting 1-0 wins. So that they're going to be a very difficult team to break down. If we could get ahead of them now and not worry about them down the road, that's going to be a big plus. But I mean, like you said, we're in fourth place right now. I think the second has 33. I'm not looking at the table right now, but I think I looked at it earlier. I think second place has 33, third place
Yep,
has
that's right.
33, and then we have 32. Correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Um, so I mean, we're right there, right? I think that though, if we play like we did against Olympiacos, we won't have an issue going to second. I don't think. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, but I mean, I think there's obviously also um, the games are going to be different, and I think it's something that you mentioned in our last show of 2020 that our issue, and I mean, it's been an issue for all of the season when we play those teams that we shouldn't drop points against, right? Your mid-table to lower table teams.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's one thing the players get up for the game against Olympiacos. It's a derby; they want to play well. Olympiacos also didn't park the bus fully, so there was a little bit more space for us to create, which is what we're not going to get. We're not going to get that most weeks. So I agree with you that like seeing that consistency is absolutely going to get us second place, but the games are going to be different, right? Like not every game is going to be like this. Players' motivations are going to wane, like so. There's other factors to consider as well, and it comes down to us struggling to break open, pack defenses.
Right.
Um, and even against Olympiacos, right, the goal came from a set piece, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that because we definitely created chances in open play, but it was a corner that got half cleared, and then Zivkovic put the ball back into the box, and the goal happened. But yeah, like the consistency absolutely is key, and something that we need to. It's been the tail of our season because even within games. I mean, we've had plenty of games where we've had a good half and an awful other half, be it first or second. So yeah, I mean, I think ultimately we will get top three and a European spot guaranteed,
Right.
but it's definitely going to be a fight. And like you said, Jimenez is definitely solidified AEK at the back, and they're getting those 1-0 wins. They're going to be tough to beat. We're going to come up against them. I think
Mm-hmm.
next weekend we played them, so it's
Yep.
going to be a tough game. So onto so obviously Pascalakis and the goal. Angela, I'm going to throw it over to you because I know you feel strongly about the Pascalakis reclaiming the number one spot a couple months ago, and his form hasn't been the greatest since he's been back in that number one spot. So on the goal, on his overall performance against Olympiacos, I mean, what are you thinking? What are you doing for Orfi? Is Zivkovic back in?
I would have put Zivkovic back in weeks ago, and I think that's very obvious based off of my rants on here, my posts on the forum, my tweets, everything. It's been very consistent against, and I have nothing against Pascalakis. I just think that when you are a team that needs points, you go with the more consistent goalkeeper, and I think that's Zivkovic. And I've said it over and over and over and over again, and we saw how it hurt us, right? This round, this leg against Olympiacos, and I think that if Zivkovic was in goal, we would have won. He again, and we were talking off air. He's solid, but he's inconsistent, and I think in big games he psychs himself out, and I think that hurts him. The one play with Ingason that we were just talking about, where he came out 18 yards of the goal line. There's no need for that. Ingason could have cleared the ball. There was no issue there. It was a 1v1. Even if the opponent from Olympiacos, I don't know who it was, forgot his name, but if he heads the ball, it's not going to go in, right? It wasn't like it was in dangerous position. It was 18. It was El Arabi, right? So if he
Yep.
headed the ball, it wasn't going in. If it went in, that's on him, Pascalakis. But there's no reason for him to charge out, try to punch that ball, and then if he made that good save on the free kick from the foul that he committed, but then that next corner, that after he gave the free kick, he tried to punch the ball out and it went behind the goal. Like, do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah, he was definitely rattled.
It
I
was
do remember that.
just shaky, man, and it was just it was just something where I don't know. I mean, I think the goal was his fault. Obviously, um, he came out to punch the ball and he was just way off. His timing was off. He stuttered a little bit. If you go back and watch it, he was gonna go out, then he stopped for like a split second, and you can't do that. And then even when he went to punch out, he was like a yard behind, right? The ball from where it struck the guy's head, and it was just shaky, and it's something that I've said since day one. Zivkovic should have never lost his position as the starting goalkeeper. He did nothing to lose the job, and we're seeing now that it's hurting the team. I hope Zivkovic is back in goal, but this is gonna be bold for me to say, but I'm gonna say it. If I was him and I'm not starting that game, I say I'm done. I'm leaving. Sell me. and I could, because of the point where I am disrespected. I did nothing to lose the job, and the person that's over me has made error after error, and he's still in there. So what am I here for? Am I here to be a solid backup when I know I could be the number one? Where I think if we made the Champions League proper, I would have been the number one because we were going off of the other games. I mean, what's changed? It's not like that Paskalakis is much younger, where you go a 19, 20, 21 year old where that's the future. That's not the case. So if I was him, I'd be pissed off, right? I'd go to my agent and say, figure out what's going on, figure out where I am. But I mean, maybe obviously we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. There could be a lot of issues going on. We don't know. Maybe he's a great team player and he loves Paskalakis and he's listen. I'm gonna give this guy a chance. I don't know, but if it was me, I would be really pissed off if I was him. Can you blame him for that goal?
Paskalakis,
Yeah.
yeah, like I mean, obviously he's made the mistake. What I wanted to say about the goal though was even he's obviously made the mistake. You highlighted that error he made in the first half where he came out a long way and ended up giving up the foul. He's looked shaky. He hasn't looked anything like the keeper that he was in his first 18 months with us when he
Right.
was, really solid. He always made mistakes. Mistakes was always in his game, but they weren't happening as frequently. And I guess just then a bit of luck and a bit of good defending, and his mistakes didn't cost us.
Mm-hmm.
Right
Right.
now, with whatever your luck runs out, defense has dropped off a little bit. You can only carry a keeper that's error prone to a certain level because at the end of the day, you need your keeper to win to get you points, not to cost you points.
Right.
Um, what I will say with the goal is though, I'm not sure even if he stays on his line if he saves it because end of the day, Bar had a free header inside the 6 yard box.
I agree. I agree. I think if Hughes stayed on his line, it's a goal, right? But the only thing I'm calling him out on was his hesitation.
Yeah, which is fair, and he deserves to
Right.
cop criticism for coming out.
Right. If he stayed on his goal line, that's a goal, right? I'm not blaming that. I'm saying if you're gonna go out, you need to go out and win the ball. That's all I'm saying. You can't, as
Yeah,
a goalie, you can't like be half in, half out.
yeah.
Right.
Own your 6 yard
And
box,
that
right?
was in
Like
the
that
six.
that's your space.
That was in the 6 yard box, right? That's something where if he went out from the start, he would have gotten it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if he's out there early enough, then
Right.
worst case, Bar probably crashes into him, and the ref will probably give a foul.
Mm-hmm.
Worst
Mm-hmm.
case, if he doesn't get his hands to the ball. Regardless, look, he definitely deserves to receive the criticism. Like, there's obviously a breakdown in marking in our because I've watched the video back and we're playing a zone, and obviously a zone you're
Yeah.
meant to have guys
I
that
hate
don't
that.
run with the defender or with
Right.
the attacker in that instance, but put pressure on.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no one. Bar ran from deep, unopposed the whole time, and had a free run and jump. So
Unbelievable.
that was obviously an issue. Yeah, that was bad. That was a little bit frustrating because it was Olympiacos' only shot in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
That was their only shot, and they obviously scored from it. So that was disappointing. But yeah, Paskalakis obviously not a great game and hasn't been in great form, and the numbers back you up. So found some stats here, and
Yeah, do tell.
yeah, so in this season of the Super League, the 2021 season, the save percentage, Zivkovic was sitting at 77.8 and Paskalakis is at 69.6. Now, some might say that's only 8%, but 8% is like could be a couple of goals worth, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
percentage wise, and
Right.
that's like 4 to 6 points. And just for a bit of context, Saar, who Olympiacos' goalkeeper, who's ranked number one in save percentage, is at 85.2. So Zivkovic is another 8% behind him. So Zivkovic clearly, statistically, the better keeper, and also saving shots within the penalty box.
Mm-hmm.
Zivkovic was at um, where was he? I've lost him. Zivkovic was at 66.7%, and Paskalakis is below 50 at 45.5%, which is the second worst in the league.
Right.
So, like, statistically, it backs everything that you're saying in terms of Zivkovic as being the more solid keeper. Numbers aren't outstanding. He's not a top three keeper in the league, but he's also not bottom two in any of the key statistical areas, which Paskalakis is.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it backs what you're saying, and it kind of begs the question now. You said that Zivkovic should come back in. I think he will, but I mean, you can't be sure. I think ultimately, if PAOK wants to be winning titles and having runs in Europe, Zivkovic isn't good enough either. So, do you think we go to the market this winter and, as in this month, and look for another keeper, or do you think play Zivkovic to the end of the season and then go all out for a big name in inverted, in quotation marks in the summer?
Um, as the train's coming by, right? I
That's all right.
I uh I wouldn't get a keeper this transfer window. I don't think first place is attainable. It's something that I would see how we do going into the playoffs and next year in the summer. See how we do in the conference league. How we're looking. I wouldn't
What do you?
go. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say, but do you think ultimately like Zivkovic is good enough to be keeping at a bulk that wants to be winning titles,
I think
or
I do. I think he's a Champions League goalkeeper. I think if he's solid enough, well, he's not going to win games right off of his goalkeeping, but I think he is a solid enough goalkeeper where a Champions League club could have him and he wouldn't hurt them. That's what I think. I don't think he's going to win games, right? Like you've mentioned he doesn't have that ability to make those saves where he wins games. But I think a solid team with good defending and him in goal can make. I wouldn't say win the group or finish top in the group or second place, but I think he's a goalkeeper where if we let him go, he could eventually go to one of these teams in a lesser country who will sneak into the Champions League. I could see that happening.
yeah? Well, I mean, fair enough. I just always think, I mean, that you need your keeper. Your keeper's going to need to win you points at some stage to keep you in a game or whatever, and I don't see him as that keeper, but that's just my opinion. And how he was playing in the first half of this season, he definitely made some big saves, and I think confidence was a big part in that. I think he started as a starting keeper. He kept some clean sheets, he made some saves, and his confidence got up, and he started kind of doing things that were probably was playing a little bit above himself in that respect. But confidence is a wonderful thing, and as an athlete, when you have it, you really want to ride that confidence and get the most out of it. But I agree with you. He's the more solid keeper. I think going forward, ultimately, PAOK needs a better keeper. That's just my opinion, though. So, I mean, I hope to see Zivkovic back in goals. There's obviously the possibility too that by being dropped when he hadn't done much wrong, his confidence now could be shot, and we could see, the unstable, shaky Zivkovic that we saw at stages last season back in goals.
Right.
So we don't know what he's going to produce as well,
Mm-hmm.
in that respect.
Right. So we've been talking a lot about negatives. Let's talk about positive. Who would be your player of the match from the Olympiacos game?
It's a good question. I'm gonna leave the obvious one for you because I know you're a big fan of him. But I was very impressed with Vieirinha. Honestly, I know that he's been criticized. Well, he was criticized a little bit, and probably rightfully so, with what happened in the off season.
Right.
He and the club handled it poorly. But I don't know if you agree with this, but I thought he was solid. He took care of Valbuena,
He
who's a
did.
great player. Defensively, he had him covered, and in attack he was solid. He got forward when he could. Obviously, he's not 28 anymore. Got forward, quality on the ball as always. Set piece delivery was good.
Right.
Ingerson had two chances from Vieirinha free kicks.
Mm-hmm.
Quality delivery, which is something we've been lacking that we've discussed on this podcast, and we've turned it around the last kind of month or so in terms of we've been scoring from corners and have become a threat from set pieces, and that has a lot to do, I think, with the delivery. So Vieirinha needs credit there. So I think just at his age to play at right back and to produce what he did against the best team in the league,
Right.
I think was very impressive. So for me, he definitely deserves a shout out. But there was probably a player that was better, and I'll ask you the same question.
Yeah.
Who was your
Obviously, I think we're thinking of the same player Warda here. Just solid, and it's and I know you know this, and people that have listened know this. I'm a big fan of his, and he is just the player that I was watching him, and he was just solid on the ball. He would get his head on the ball. He looked smooth, right? He looked like a player who could hold their own against a good team. A team that obviously was in the Champions League, and now they're going to be in the Europa League in the knockout stages. He to me was our best player. He's the most consistent, and the most dangerous, one of the most dangerous players. And then again, it goes back to if we had him from the beginning of the year, I think we make the Champions League. He's that type of player who can change the game in a big game. He can bring fear into opponents, and he is someone who opposing teams have to game plan for. Um, he's just a solid player, and I'll say it over and over again until I can't anymore. I think that he is going to be a big help for us. Would you say that he was the best player?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it was great. He kept the Olympiacos defense on their toes. He won fouls. He picked up the ball, and he's always looking to be positive and make things happen. I mean, honestly, this little run of 2 games that he started is the most I've seen him play. Because, like we discussed previously, he only lasted 6 months at
Right.
time, and he was never a consistent starter. So this is the most I've seen him, and I've been impressed. And it's definitely kind of bolted our attack into a bit of life when we looked flat at times. And again, he has a hand in the goal. He wins the header in the heart of the box against a big centre back,
Mm-hmm.
against Barr, who ends up scoring. Wins that header, forces the save, and Ingerson obviously scores in the follow up. So yeah, I think Warda is justifiably the man of the match, and I think he was voted post game as well by the PAOK fans man of the match. I mean, yeah, he was good, and if he can keep the off field stuff in check. I mean, even then, there was always conflicting reports, as there tends to be with that sort of stuff. You never really get a solid, like a clear picture of what's going on. But no, I
Right.
think on field, he looks like he's going to help, and that's your guy, Angelo. So I'm hoping that you're singing his praises for the rest of the season, and he can have a good end to this campaign for us.
Hopefully, we'll be able to get him on the episodes on the show too. Right, one of these days.
Oh, well, you had a personal interaction with
Yeah,
him last time,
I
didn't you?
did. I have a personal connection with him, and not with him, but someone I'm close with was hanging out with him. But yeah, we'll see. I'll reach out to my contacts and see if we could get him on. That'd be awesome. I feel like that would be a great show for sure. We're switching gears a little bit. It looks like Yanulis is on the verge of being sold to Norwich. What are your thoughts on the timing of the price? It's rumored to be around 7.5 million. I think it's going to be a loan first, right? That's what I saw online. That's going to be a loan first, and then a buyout afterwards. And then it's potential replacements. It could be Staffelidis, it could be Ferrari from Volos. What say you?
Yeah, so in terms of the price that's been rumored, 7.5 to 8 million euros is what it's a number that's been doing the rounds. I think it's a good price. I think it's fair. I think his buyout option's at 10.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're ever going to get that, especially um, without playing Champions League football and having him exposed at the highest level. Um, so I think money wise, it's fine. I think in terms of the timing too, like as you said, we're 10 points behind. Effectively the league's done. Olympiacos would have to drop 4 games, and we would have to be flawless, which I don't think we will be. So I think it's not like you're getting rid of him while you're
Right.
in it up to your teeth into the title race. We've got no Europe anymore this season, so
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think in that aspect, really, it's fine. I don't like the loan thing. I heard though that, I mean, again, you read different websites, and so then you're reading different things. So I read the English press who was saying it's a loan. The Greek press started with that narrative too, that it was going to be a loan, and now they're kind of saying that they've come to an agreement that it's going to be a sale.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd rather sell him. So with the loan, it was apparently dependent on them being promoted, which
Right.
they are first in the championship, and they're 4 points clear at the moment. So top two gets promoted. They're 4 points clear of second, and I think 5 points clear of third. I had a look at the table earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So chances are they will be promoted. It is only the halfway point though. So if it's a sale for that price, I'm happy. It'll go down as our second highest transfer for a player sold behind Brigovic, who got sold for 10 million a couple of years ago. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't renewed his contract. He obviously wants to move on. He has 18 months. I mean, this is the right move, so we don't get to next season and
Right.
there's a year left and we lose him for 3 or 4, which is half of probably what he's worth. So I'll be happy with it if it happens. Just on the sale yourself, before we talk about potential replacements, are you happy with all that, with the timing and the price, or do you think we should be hanging on to him and holding out for a better offer?
I will fly to Greece during this pandemic and drive the limo with him to the airport if it's 7.5, 8 million. I think that he's a good player, but I think he's kind of decreased his value lately based off of how he's played. But I mean, he's earned it, right? I mean, he hasn't caused trouble. He's a good teammate, uh, young player, good representative from Greece. Never any issue. So good for him, right? I think these are the players that you just say, thank you for your service, but now it's time to go. And I think he respects it. I think PAOK understands it would be great if they could get him into England and then they could get promoted and play in the Premier League next season. But it's something where if we're gonna sell him for 7.5, 8, I take that in a heartbeat. Now, if it's a loan situation, then you wonder, right? I mean, say they don't get promoted, and then you loan them, and then for nothing, and then right. So,
Yeah,
but if it's a situation where it's a sale, I say I'm all for it. 8 million, I think 8 million 7.5 is as good as almost as good as we could hope, right?
yeah, I agree. And just sorry, thinking about the loan, if I'm Bulk and Norwich are coming to me with that, we want to take him on loan, and then I'm sure they'll put in the deal that it's an automatic buy for 7 million or 7.5
Right.
if we get promoted. But I'm saying to Yanulis, if that's how you want to do it, if you can't get them to buy you now, then you need to renew your contract for 2 or 3 more years before you go on loan. Because I don't want you coming back to say Norwich falls apart and they don't get promoted.
Exactly.
I
Yep.
don't want you coming back and then holding us over the fire. It's a lose lose. So I can't see the loan situation happening without a guarantee. I
Right.
would hope not. So I'd hate to be sitting here in a few months' time and talking about poor management again. That would be next level. Obviously, I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit,
I
but
know.
that's
Yep.
what I'd be doing. If they want the loan, then I would say to Yanulis, you need to resign because we don't want to lose you for peanuts come the summer.
Right. And what do you think about the potential replacements?
Well, Staphylidis is one like is Vieirinha 2.0. I feel like every transfer window since he's left, there's always rumors that he's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he eventually will. I mean, Staphylidis has been injured this season. He's been very injury prone.
Right.
Even when he was at PAOK, he hasn't really put together a full season. There might have been one or two in Germany where he kind of had a full year. Um, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I don't want to. I feel like I'd rather look elsewhere just because I know his body isn't reliable. It breaks down.
Mm-hmm.
Ferrari, I haven't seen enough of from Borlos. I know that he seems to be highly rated by Greek media. He's 28-year-old Argentinian. We saw him play against PAOK, but he was played at right back in our game, and I think that was to deal with Solis and the cut in. So Solis would cut in from the left onto the right foot, and that would be Ferrari's good side. So I don't think we got the full picture of Ferrari in that game.
Mm-hmm.
What about? I mean, you can give me your thoughts on Staphylidis and Ferrari as well, but do you think there's any chance that they sell Yanulis and then say to Pereira that, hey, that spot's open, it's yours now, like show us what you have for half a season, or do you think they don't have that trust?
I don't think they have the trust in them. I mean, they've had chances to play him, and he's been kind of invisible in terms of their selection. So I don't see that happening. If they get rid of him, I could see them getting someone else a replacement.
So do you want Staphylidis if that's possible, even if it's on a short-term loan, just to get us through the season, or do you want
I
someone
say
else?
yes. I say yes. I know he's injury prone. But like you mentioned, we're at that point now where if we get him on a loan, right, we're not spending much, if anything, and he's the starter, but then he gets hurt maybe one game and he's not playing, then we could fill in a Crespo or a Rodrigo, and we could put Virinha out wide. So I think for the options that we have and for where we are as a club right now, where we're not going to be going for first place, we're going for second place, we're going for a cup title. I think he'd be solid for it. I would say it's more. We really don't have much to lose, right? If it's to the point where we get him for free and it's a loan, even if we're paying half the salary, whatever it is, um, and he plays on and off, even if he doesn't play, if he gets hurt, God forbid, and he can't play, then I think you'll manage for what we are as a club right now and what we're aiming for. Now, if we were going for first place, if first place was still on the table, I would say no. I'd say get a solid left back who will be consistent and can change games. But if we're fighting for second place and the cup, I think he'd be a solid pickup.
Well, it's going to be an interesting couple of days to see if the Yanulis transfer does go through, and then what PAOK does.
Right.
Yeah, as we mentioned, a couple of names there on the table, so we'll see how it all plays out. And as we prepare to wrap up episode 20, historic episode 20, Angelo, made it to 20 episodes. I'll talk. We'll quickly look ahead to the game Sunday against Orfi. So we're going there with a few players out suspended. El Kaduri, Zivkovic, and I think Ingerson is the third one who'll be missing. I could be wrong on Ingerson though, so don't quote me. Orfi's a good team. We beat them 3-1 in the first round of fixtures, but they gave us a lot of trouble that game, and we scored 2 goals late, if you remember, Angelo
I do.
Swideski. So it's going to be they're never easy to beat. So what do you think heading into that game?
I don't care how it's done, but we need to win. We
Don't
need.
care
I
if
mean,
it's
it's that simple. We can't. That's a game that we need to win. We cannot fall further behind Ike and Aris. It's gonna be a tough game. It's gonna be a difficult game. I agree with that, but I still think that we have more talent, even with those 3 players out, than Nofi does. It's a situation where if you want to be a team that finishes second, that is still. I mean, I don't want to just say second place is a guarantee. I don't want to say first place is 100% out because I mean it's not right. Anything could happen. But if we are a team that comes out like we did against Olympiacos, I think that will win the game.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And Orfi does tend to play a bit more of an open style as well, so I don't think we're necessarily going to have that parked bus to come up against. Um, yeah, so sorry, I was just reading. Yeah, so Ingerson and Zivkovic are definitely out against Orfi. So, and I'm pretty sure El Kaduri also, but I'm not sure on El Kaduri.
Mm-hmm.
So, while if Zivkovic out, so does that? Are you starting Merg, who surprisingly did get a start against Olympiacos? Centre backs too, so we don't know if Yanulis is going to be available, and if El Kaduri is out, we're very thin in central midfield at the moment. City's on his way out. We have his father there. Ninoa doesn't seem to really get the start, and Augusto is out with a flu at the moment. So let's just talk about central midfield. Would you start Ninoa or? Well, I mean, assuming Augusto's out because he's sick, then we might not have a choice. It might have to be Svab and Ninoa. You have Tsigaras as well.
I mean, what happened with Cigaras?
What happened?
I mean,
No, he's there. He's available.
yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, how do you play him against PSV and not trust him against Ofi, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point.
You get what I'm saying. So, I mean, why wouldn't we play him in this situation where we need a center midfielder?
Yeah,
I questioned Garcia when he played him against PSV a couple episodes ago, and if you believed him then in a huge game, you're not going to trust on them now,
I
right?
mean, I think the thing to say is though he's played a few more games, and I think he's kind of seen that he's not 100% ready. So he wasn't, he hasn't been used since the Artist game where he
Yeah.
wasn't great. But no, like, I'm like the point that we're making here is that you might not have a choice because
Right,
we're running thin on central midfielders
right.
with El Kaduri potentially suspended. Um, yeah, like we might not have a choice. Might have to be him or Inua. But anyways, it's something that will pan out in the next couple of days. In terms of a result, so you said, do you want to have a prediction? You think we'll win?
Listen, you got the last prediction right, so I'll let you pick first. You got the
I
Olympiacos
think
game right.
we should have been keeping tally of all these, to be
You
honest,
should
because I
have.
think it'd be. But I think we'll win. I can't think. I mean, it could happen. The team can come out flat after a big game. But I don't think so. I think that Orphe as well. They do play a bit of they play open. They try to attack, so I think it'll suit us. I'll go with 2-0 win. 2-0. The clean sheet is pending Zivkovic starting over Paskalakis. If Paskalakis plays, I'll probably say 2-1 win the PAOK.
Yeah, I think we're gonna win this game too. I could see it being a 2-1 game. Yeah, I think that it's gonna be a situation where I think we jump ahead, and then Ofi ties it up, and then we get a late goal. I'll say 2-1, and I hope Zivkovic gets the starting goal. That'd be huge for us and for our confidence, I think. And a win here would do wonders. We have a couple big games coming up, and it would kind of be a good platform. Last thing we need is to go a couple steps back after we took a couple steps forward against Olympiacos. So hopefully we get the win, and we'll be celebrating for the rest of the weekend.
Absolutely.
So thank you all for listening to episode 20. We've made it. Um, a lot of people didn't think we'd no one didn't think we'd make it, but
You didn't think we'd make it.
what's that?
You didn't think we'd make it.
I didn't think that we'd make it either, and I'm sure some people on the forums, Pascalis, is going to say the same thing. So, thank you all for listening to episode 20. It's been a pleasure. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at PAOK Talk, and comment anything that you disagree with, you agree with. We're pretty active on Twitter, so be sure to reach out to us there. We have a good following on Twitter, and some good conversations back and forth. So hopefully we get a win. Hopefully we enjoy this weekend with a positive result, and we could build off of the Olympiacos performance with a couple wins in a row. Thank you all for listening, and talk to you all soon.